Welcome to Levy Stories, where real-life stories come to life. If you're fascinated by true, emotional, and surprising stories, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Your support motivates me to keep sharing these unforgettable stories with you. Now, let's dive into today's story. Have you ever experienced a moment in your life when time seems to stand still, enveloping you in a profound stillness? It's as if time itself pauses, eager to witness your next move. You recognize the irreversible shift in everything, and the excitement of the unknown draws you nearer. That fateful moment arrived for me 2 years ago. 2 years have passed. Despite the passage of 2 years, the echoes remain, the flavors persist, and the whispers continue to reverberate in my ears. The house was shrouded in a veil of intimacy and unspoken desires. The house was enveloped in a hushed stillness enveloped the house, providing desires lingering in the air. Silence envelops the room, a heavy stillness that stirs something deep within. The silence envelops you, a heavy shroud that heightens every pulse of your heartbeat, drawing you deeper into the moment. Thud, thud, thud. The warm water cascaded over my body, enveloping me in a haze of steam that danced around like a whispering specter, igniting a sense of longing within the solitude of the moment. I let my thoughts drift away. Perhaps I was lost in my own thoughts. Countless nights I found myself adrift, gazing at the ceiling, lost in the haunting question of when the essence of my life began to fade into. She is a woman who embodies nurturing and strength. She remains true to herself even at 44 years old. Man who, over the past 2 decades, she has dedicated herself to selflessness, painstakingly slicing away at her own essence, splintering herself into fragile fragments to ensure others feel whole. She has sacrificed herself so that others might feel complete. And yet, in that moment, standing in that shower, I felt more exposed than I ever had in my life. In that moment, a sound reached my ears. The voice evokes deep-seated memories of covert meetings and whispered declarations. She leans against the bathroom door. There is a voice that stirs something deep within, evoking memories of secret rendezvous and whispered confessions. "Mother, are you?" I felt a flutter of unease. It stirred something deep within me. Isn't it simply just a straightforward inquiry? It's a tender worry, laced with unspoken desires. But what is the reason behind it? What stirred such I should have whispered, urging him to retreat back to the comfort of his sheets. He had to have whispered for him to return to the warmth of his sheets. I should have ignored it. There are countless moments I wish I had embraced differently. Yet, in that moment, I chose to turn away. And that night in the shower, everything transformed. I longed to share that this was the first moment something stirred within me, a disengagement. Before that fateful night, before the unexpected knock on the door, life flowed in its usual rhythm. I was just another mother, another wife, maneuvering through the ordinary waves of daily life. However, claiming anything different would be untrue. In reality, the fissures had been quietly emerging over the years. The fissures had been quietly forming long before that intimate moment in the shower, long before the silence between my husband and me became so profound. I felt as though I could scarcely draw breath amidst its weight. I found myself at the age of 4. I was once a woman who radiated vitality, brimming with aspirations and desires. What comes next? I was merely a reflection of someone else's life. The figure exudes a nurturing allure. There was a lingering thought, shrouded in desire. Our house, though not small, echoed with a sense of emptiness that lingered in the air, not in the way that homes resonate with the silence left behind when children venture into their lives. No! This void felt uniquely profound. The absence was the kind of emptiness that lingered, a haunting presence felt even in the company of others. The thick, palpable silence lingered, wrapping itself around the walls and seeping into every corner, making the air feel full of unspoken desires. Throughout the day, I found myself immersed in various activities, keeping my mind occupied. Tidying up. I am currently preparing a meal for my family. I was involved in routine tasks. It felt as though I was engaged in a delicate dance with my heart, persuading myself that if I continued to glide through life, the ache of solitude would remain at bay. Yet, in the stillness of the night, it became utterly undeniable. As I lingered at the kitchen table, my gaze fixated on the clock, the soft murmur of the refrigerator enveloped me in a cocoon of solitude. I would occasionally consume a single glass of wine to alleviate the abrasiveness of the day and allow the warmth to embrace me in a gentle embrace. His presence is just enough to soothe the longing that stirs within my heart. He is my beloved partner. He would often return home in the quiet hours of the night. Labor, endless dedication. He exuded success, wielded power, and commanded respect. And what about me? I was merely the woman who maintained the delicate balance, allowing him to explore the depths of his desires and ambitions. There was a time when our conversations flowed effortlessly. We used to laugh together. I was once familiar with the caress of intimacy. Yet, those moments slipped away with such subtlety that I remained blissfully unaware of their departure, which dawned when I recognized the chasm that had formed between us, leaving us as mere strangers in a once intimate dance. Now, our conversations took on a more serious tone, intricate. Could you please let me know if the electricity bill has been taken care of? When can I expect the plumber to arrive? A delightful array of culinary treasures awaits discovery in the fridge. How have you been? My dear, I never find myself without thoughts of you. Never shall I utter those words of love. At first, I thought it was just a dream. Maybe I was just playing around. Yet, beneath the surface, an undeniable truth lingered within me. I was aware, and then the subtle hints began to reveal themselves. Late nights at the office blossomed into secret weekends spent together, igniting a spark that felt both thrilling and forbidden. His phone lay there, always turned away, a silent guardian of secrets untold. The scent that belonged to another, the unspoken words hidden behind his silent words are lingering in the air between us. I never managed to catch him. Proof has always eluded me. Yet, when your instincts are whispering secrets of undeniable truth, proof becomes a mere formality. A web of deceit entangled him. I had a feeling all along. And what could possibly be more scandalous than that? I understood that if I dared to confront him, he would likely respond with a nonchalant shrug, as if to say, "What of it?" I felt the urge to escape. It lingered in my thoughts, an ever-present whisper that stirred my heart. Yet, my gaze would inevitably drift to my son, and I would linger. He was my beloved son. He was the only ember in that cold, unwelcoming house that ignited a warmth within me. At 22, he stood on the precipice of adulthood, caught in the delicate balance between youthful innocence and the allure of manhood. He still possessed that gentle allure that drew her in. It was that gentle kindness that set him apart from his father, a quality that stirred something deep within her, igniting a connection that felt both thrilling and forbidden. There was a sharp awareness in the air around them that made him a silent witness to their unspoken desires. It has always been that way. Though his father seemed oblivious to my presence, he was acutely aware of me. "Mother, are you feeling all right?" He would inquire, his tone soft and inviting. "You appear disengaged." I would simply chuckle and let it slide, whisper that I was simply weary. Yet, he clung to it, refusing to release the grip of that lingering desire. His gaze lingered, a silent observer in the shadows, perpetually reaching out. He consistently took the lead when his father faltered. As I struggled with the weight of the groceries, he would eagerly come to my aid, his presence a comforting warmth amidst the mundane task. He would turn to me with curiosity dancing in his eyes and inquire softly about my troubles when I let out a sigh that lingered in the air. During those quiet moments, he would remain by my side, providing a reassuring presence, his silence conveying a deep connection between us. I'm not quite sure when I began to rely on that. His presence became my only haven. Yet, once the truth dawned upon me, I found myself ensnared in a web of undeniable allure. It unfolded slowly, almost imperceptibly, until I found myself captivated without realizing it. Subtle nuances, the way he hesitated, relishing every moment of our conversation, was remarkable. He effortlessly sought opportunities to brush against my shoulder, linger his hand near mine, and position himself just a breath away, igniting a spark of something forbidden. I surrendered myself to him in a manner that I desired. It was exactly the way I yearned for him. Initially, I convinced myself it was merely a fleeting thought. He was simply a devoted son, one who cared deeply. Yet, the reality lingered like a shadow. I had never experienced such profound solitude. In the darkness of the night, when a hand reaches out to you, even if it's from someone who should remain a distant memory, there are moments when the allure of that touch becomes irresistible, even when the heart whispers it's forbidden. It was a Sunday, a day draped in the soft glow of anticipation. My husband was away, as he often is. As I stood in the kitchen, the warm water cascading over the dishes, my son entered, a moment charged with unspoken tension. His gaze, which was intense and lingering, sent shivers down my spine as he leaned against the counter. "Would you like a little assistance?" A soft smile graced my lips. I understand completely. He chose to stay, remained still, simply gazed. Mother, may I pose a question to you? A moment of solitude enveloped me as I silenced the water's flow and dried my hands, which glistened. Absolutely. He lingered in silence, as if searching for the perfect words to bridge the unspoken tension between them. Do you find joy in your life? The question struck me with an intensity that left me breathless. I parted my lips, then sealed them shut. Consumed, what words could possibly capture this moment? Indeed, such a statement would be far from the truth. Is it truly accurate? Such a level of honesty might be a bit too revealing. I find myself in a state of confusion. I finally confessed my deepest truth. It seems like it's been ages since I last pondered it. He nodded, his gaze dropping, as if he had anticipated that response all along. And then, with a whisper so delicate, it nearly slipped past my awareness, he whispered, "All I desire is for your happiness." His voice had an intoxicating quality that left me momentarily breathless. In that fleeting moment, uncertainty washed over me, leaving me to question whether his intentions aligned with the bond a son ought to share. Additionally, I began to doubt whether I had accurately perceived the situation. I ought to have recognized it back then. I ought to have put an end to it. I should have taken action. Any action before the situation spiraled into something much more complicated. Yet, I refrained. For the first time in years, someone gazed at me as if I held significance in their world, and I found myself unwilling to relinquish that connection. And that was the moment it all began. That's when the boundaries began to fade away. That night, as I stood in the shower, a profound realization washed over me, whispering that everything had irrevocably shifted beneath the surface. And once you step over that boundary, there's no turning back. If I had to identify the precise moment when everything began to change, it would undoubtedly be that day at the beach. It was that singular, elusive afternoon when, for the first time in what seemed like an eternity, I allowed myself to surrender to laughter. I surrendered to my emotions. The idea was filled with intricacy. It was a suggestion from my son. Come on, darling, let's escape this place together. You always put others before your desires. He was undeniably right. It felt like an eternity since I had ventured beyond the mundane confines of the grocery store, the dry cleaners, or the pharmacy, each visit a reminder of the ordinary life I led, far removed from the thrill of the unexpected. And naturally, my husband was preoccupied with his affairs. He scarcely lifted his gaze from the glow of his laptop as I inquired if he wished to join us. Perhaps another time, he murmured, his mind drifting far from the exchange. However, a second opportunity never presented itself. It had been an eternity since such a moment had graced their lives. We were the only ones present, and our connection was both profound and intimate. The air was warm, heavy with the intoxicating scent of salt and sunscreen, evoking a sense of longing and desire. The waves whispered secrets as they crashed rhythmically in the distance, their sound a seductive lullaby that beckoned the heart to wander. Families sprawled across the warm sand, their laughter mingling with the gentle whispers of the waves, lost in moments of joy and connection. For the first time in ages, a youthful spark ignited within me. We entered the water, the cool waves gently caressing our legs, a gentle reminder of the excitement that remained between us. With a mischievous grin lighting up his face, as if transported back to the carefree days of childhood, he splashed me. The moment was charged with an electric thrill as I splashed water back at him, laughter bubbling up as I let out a playful shriek. It has been an eternity since I last felt such unbridled joy, a moment so pure and intoxicating that it lingers in the air like a forbidden secret. It's the kind that evokes a profound yearning deep within your heart. It is the kind that allows you to temporarily escape from the burdens that bind you to reality. In that fleeting moment, our gazes intertwined, igniting a spark that lingered in the air between us. His gaze remained fixed on me, a look that transcended the innocent bond between mother and son. A flutter of unease stirred within me, yet I chose to dismiss it. Let it go. I persuaded myself that everything was merely a product of my imagination. However, I discovered that I was no longer in that state, and I was fully aware of it. The air was thick with unspoken desires and lingering glances as we slipped back into the car, at which point the sun had dipped below the horizon. The intoxicating scent of the ocean lingered on my skin, a reminder of the forbidden allure of the waves. As my hair hung heavy with moisture, he navigated the road in quiet contemplation, his fingers rhythmically dancing on the steering wheel, lost in thoughts that lingered just beyond the surface. I could sense it, a lingering tension that danced between us, unspoken yet palpable. The transition, the heaviness of unvoiced desires lingers in the air between us. I longed to utter a playful remark, to weave us back into the familiar warmth of our past connection. Yet, the words eluded me. I found myself gazing out the window, entranced by the way the streetlights danced and blurred into one another, a fleeting spectacle that mirrored the complexities of our unspoken desires. As we finally glided into the driveway, he turned to me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. His gaze danced across my features, pausing for a heartbeat longer than necessary. "Did you enjoy yourself today?" His voice caressed the air, a gentle whisper that lingered like a secret shared in the twilight. I swallowed hard, managing to coax a smile onto my lips. "Indeed, I did." The corner of his mouth lifted ever so slightly, yet an enigmatic allure lingered in his gaze. The emotion was too intricate for me to express, or perhaps too alluring to pinpoint. I entered my bedroom upon my return home, shedding my swimsuit and wrapping myself in a soft towel. A sense of anticipation lingered in the air. My skin retained a warm glow, kissed by the sun's lingering embrace. As I strolled by the mirror, I lingered for a moment. I'm uncertain of the reasons behind it. It seems I've neglected to truly gaze upon my reflection for quite some time. There I stood, caught in the moment, a sense of anticipation swirling around me. The very body that once nurtured life had known the caress of a man who professed his love, only to retreat into silence, leaving behind a haunting memory of what once was. The creases at the corners of my eyes had become more pronounced, and my collarbones had acquired a newfound elegance. I experienced a sense of recognition for the first time in years, a warmth that made me feel seen in a way that stirred something deep within me. I felt a profound connection in that moment, as if another's gaze revealed the depths of my soul, and that notion alone ignited a thrilling shiver along my spine. Suddenly, a soft knock echoed through the room, gentle, uncertain. "Mother!" My breath hitched, a tantalizing thrill coursing through me. I grasped the towel with a sense of urgency, savoring the warmth of the fabric against my skin. My heart raced, an inexplicable thrill coursing through me. "Indeed," my voice emerged with the surprising steadiness, a calmness that defied the turbulent emotions swirling within. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. This was an extended journey. "I simply wanted to see how you were doing." I ought to have revealed to him that I am perfectly all right. In a whisper, I should have told him to go back to sleep. I should have whispered to him that this path we tread is fraught with uncertainty. Whatever it is evolving into. However, in that moment of uncertainty, I elected to turn the handle and venture into the unknown. He stood there, just emerged from his shower, droplets glistening on his skin as his damp hair curled enticingly at the edges. His t-shirt clung to him, highlighting the tension in his jaw, as though he was grappling with an internal turmoil. Our gazes intertwined, a silent spark igniting between us, and we held each other's gaze, unflinching. We haven't reached that point yet. We didn't proceed in the way we should have. It was but a fleeting moment, perhaps a pair, perhaps a little less. Yet time unfurled itself, lingering in a manner that rendered each moment an eternity. There was a depth in his gaze that spoke of uncharted desires. This thought was so haunting that it sent shivers down my spine. This sensation sparked a profound sense of excitement within me. It was a glimpse into a world I was never meant to witness. And what could be more scandalous? It was a glimpse into a world I knew I shouldn't desire. He cleared his throat, shattering the stillness that enveloped them. "Very well. Sweet dreams, dear mother." His voice held an ordinary cadence. Yet there was an undercurrent that hinted at something deeper, something unspoken that lingered in the air between them. The situation felt all too ordinary. I nodded, a swift retreat marking my hesitation. "Sweet dreams. My dear." He turned, his silhouette retreating, the sound of his footsteps gradually dissolving into the shadows of the hallway. I gently shut the door behind me, sealing away the world outside. I felt a tremor emanate from my lips as I leaned against it. My breath caught between desire and hesitancy. I convinced myself it was merely a figment of my imagination. I believed it was just a brief moment. It was merely the weight of fatigue. Perhaps the remnants of a day persist in the darkness, or perhaps it was merely a transient encounter, one that held no significance. Yet, my body was aware of the unspoken truths. The warmth of his gaze lingered, igniting a forbidden spark within me. The weight of it was overwhelming. The allure of its forbidden nature captivates us. And what could be more scandalous? I sensed the undeniable reaction of my body. I lingered there, my fingers clutching the edge of the counter, captivated by the gaze of my reflection. A shiver of fear swept through me for the first time since the inception of this event. For I was aware, I sensed that a delicate dance had begun, one that I felt powerless to halt. How I longed to claim that the memories of that night have faded away. Once the door clicked shut, as I wrapped my robe snugly around my form, I surrendered myself to the embrace of the sheets. The moment slipped away into the shadows, yet it remained unfulfilled. It wrapped around me, an intimate embrace that felt both thrilling and forbidden, entwined in my consciousness like an alluring vine. It infiltrates each hushed moment, every inhalation, and every fleeting thought. I convinced myself it was merely a fleeting thought. It was a fleeting encounter. A playful whisper of my own solitude resonated in my mind. Yet, my body was aware of truths that my mind dared not acknowledge. What was the most unsettling part? It wasn't just me who sensed the undeniable connection. In the days that followed, I endeavored to maintain an air of normalcy. I rose with the dawn, prepared a meal with care, and moved through my morning rituals, concealing the tremors of change beneath a facade of normalcy. Yet, I sensed it deeply. I sensed it deeply. I felt a shiver run down my spine as my son's gaze lingered on me for a moment longer than it should have. The fleeting moment when his fingers grazed my skin as I placed the plate before him lingered in the air, charged with an unspoken tension. He persistently looked for reasons to remain near me. I persuaded myself that it was simply a product of my imagination. I was exploring unknown obscurities. He was my beloved, a connection that transcended the ordinary bounds of affection. He was my beloved son. He was simply expressing his deep affection. He witnessed the way his father regarded me. He saw how unseen I had grown within the confines of my own union. He sought to atone for his past missteps, yearning to bridge the chasm that had formed between them. That was all it ever was. That was all it needed to become. When he gazed at me with those intense, probing eyes, I elected to disregard the way my stomach fluttered. I ignored the fluttering sensation in my chest as he chuckled at my words. My husband hadn't touched me in a long time. I ignored the electric sensation that surged through my skin in his presence. My body awakened as if it had been waiting to embrace its femininity once more. It was more than just a mother's love. I repeatedly whispered to myself, a secret promise reverberating in the recesses of my heart. This experience is merely a fleeting moment. It lingers only in the depths of my mind. It holds no significance. Yet for him, it was far from insignificant. I began to perceive it in the subtle nuances. He started to observe me with a gaze that felt both protective and possessive. He seemed to have decided that, without his father's guidance, he would handle things independently. Initially, it was a whisper of something deeper. These were subtle acts of affection, a silent gesture that spoke volumes of his affection. He poured me a cup of coffee before I even had the opportunity to ask. He invited me to feel your hands glide over my shoulders after a long, weary day. He lingered in the quiet hours, preferring my company over the comfort of sleep, a subtle rebellion against the night's expectations. In that moment, it transcended into something deeper. He passed me in the kitchen, and a gentle touch brushed my back, igniting a spark of unspoken tension between us. He wrapped his arms around me. There is a lingering, intimate embrace that speaks of deeper connections. Yet, there lingers an unspoken tension, profoundly deeper, extended. He spoke to me with a tone that caressed my ears. He spoke to me as though I were fragile, prone to breakage. He treated me as though I was solely his property. And what about me? I surrendered to him. For reasons deep within, I yearned to surrender. It evolved into a familiar ritual. He would seek me out in the quiet of the night, where I lingered in the kitchen table, a glass of wine cradled in my hand. Rest had become a distant memory for me. It was not after that fateful evening that everything changed. I came to terms with the depth of emotions I had harbored, emotions that were never meant to blossom. And what of him? He perpetually remained awake, anticipating my departure into the realm of dreams. It began with whispers shared in the dim light of the evening. Initially, their connection was pure and untainted. Our conversation danced around the delicate nuances of life, films, melody. In the absence of his father, an unsettling stillness pervaded the house. Yet, it evolved into something deeper. Secrets entwined themselves around us, soft and seductive. Like whispers shared in the shadows, I shared secrets with him that I never intended to reveal. I confided in him about the deep loneliness that enveloped me. At times, I found myself questioning whether his father had ever truly harbored any affection for me. Oh, how I yearned to experience the warmth of genuine recognition once more. And him, he leaned in, his attention unwavering, as if the very air between them crackled with unspoken desires. His gaze fell upon me. It began as something subtle, almost imperceptible. He gently squeezed my hand as I spoke, causing a shiver to run down my spine. As he retrieved my empty wine glass, his thumb briefly touched my wrist, leaving a brief impression in the air between us. His fingers lightly touched my knee, a gentle reassurance that caused a shiver of excitement to run down my spine. Whispered softly, unwavering, and with every encounter, the sensation washed over me. It felt like an electric current coursing through my veins. I convinced myself it was merely a fleeting thought. I found myself lost in a daydream, questioning the very fabric of my thoughts. Could you imagine the intensity of his gaze on me? When I drew near, his breath caught slightly, straddling the fine line between desire and restraint. The brief moment he paused, a mere heartbeat before withdrawing, conveyed a powerful message. I was aware. He was aware. The hour had grown late, shadows deepening as the world outside faded into a hushed stillness. The clock strikes midnight. As I nestled into the couch, cocooned in a soft blanket, the flickering light of the TV danced in the shadows, creating an intimate atmosphere that felt both cozy and charged with unspoken possibilities. I found myself lost in thought, barely paying attention. I found myself merely drifting through life. He entered the room with the scent of soap still lingering in the air, his tousled hair glistening with water droplets, and his t-shirt casually draping over his sculpted form. He settled next to me, the air thick with unspoken tension, intimately close, intimately entwined. For a moment, silence enveloped us, thick with unspoken desires. Then, in a whisper so subtle that it almost slipped away, "Mom, do you find happiness?" I swallowed hard. In a moment that was both electric and forbidden, I turned my head and locked eyes with him. I ought to have woven a different tale. Perhaps I should have brushed it aside with a light-hearted chuckle. Yet, my voice emerged softer than I had anticipated. "No." The word lingered in the air between us, charged with unspoken desire, and I sensed his subtle shift, a whisper of movement that stirred something deep within me. His knee brushed against mine just enough to ignite an unspoken desire. In that fleeting moment, the air between us hung heavy, as if time itself had paused. Then, his fingers lingered softly on my hand. It was no mere coincidence. It's not done in a flurry. Deliberately, I ought to have stepped back. I ought to have put an end to it. Yet, I refrained. In that fleeting moment, with my husband absent and the burden of years of indifference enveloping me, my heart ached for something, anything to awaken the essence of my being once more. I found myself reluctant to take that step. What concerns me the most, in a moment so ephemeral, it danced on the edge of desire. It seems he was hesitant as well. I sensed a change in the atmosphere, as if the air itself was in a state of tension, anticipating my choice. What might have unfolded had I chosen to remain still? My mind danced with possibilities, each one more alluring than the last. Had I not summoned the strength to inhale deeply, wrapped the blanket more snugly around myself, and whispered a fleeting thought of retreating to bed, I wonder if he would have had the strength to pull away. What if I had permitted him to surpass that boundary? However, I firmly believe in one particular truth. That night, as I reclined in bed, gazing at the ceiling, the heat of his touch lingered on my skin, and my heart raced with a fervor that drowned out my thoughts. I sensed we had wandered perilously near to a forbidden allure. This was an irreversible act, and I understood. If I didn't tread lightly, and if I didn't put an end to this now, we were on the brink of crossing a forbidden threshold. There would be no turning back from this moment. At that moment, I ought to have established a boundary. I should have understood the path we were taking, the irreversible transformation of the earth beneath us. Yet, I refrained. The truth was the case. I found myself reluctant to do so. It began with a whisper, intimate whispers of time. He was subtly present from the beginning, a fleeting touch that lingered in the air, charged with unspoken desire. As his fingers brushed against my lower back as he moved past me in the kitchen, the gentle brush of his fingers against my wrist, as he passed me something, sent a shiver through me, igniting a spark of something forbidden and thrilling. I was unaware of the way his gaze lingered, concealed in the shadows. And what about me? I surrendered to the moment. His touch evoked a unique warmth that sparked a profound emotion within her, unlike any she had previously experienced. Chilling, unmoved, remote, his touch lingered with intention. It was as if I truly held significance in someone else's world. Why did it matter? That was an experience I had yearned for far too long. It began with the subtle nuances, the delicate gestures that lingered in the air. A warm cup of coffee arrived at my bedside at dawn. It was exactly as I had desired it to be. He gently suggested giving my shoulders a soothing massage after a long, exhausting day, a moment that stretched just beyond the boundaries of propriety. The heat of his hands lingered on my skin. She filled the void left by my husband's careless departure. I acted with such reckless abandon. I discovered that I was spending an extended period of time in the quiet hours on a particular evening, far longer than I had ever done before. Lost in thought, I absent-mindedly traced my fingers over my temples while seated at the dining table, the air thick with unspoken tension. In silence, unspoken desires linger. He approached me from behind, a thrill of anticipation hanging in the air. His hands lingered softly on my shoulders, a gentle touch that sent shivers down my spine. "You're always so wound up," he whispered softly. He gently caressed my fingers. I let my eyelids drift shut. I ought to have intervened with him. I ought to have found humor in it, let it slip away. It's common knowledge that sons shouldn't massage their mothers. Yet, I refrained. In that instant, my husband was far away, and the air brimmed with unvoiced longings. I was engrossed in secretive encounters with mysterious companions. I craved it. I yearned for it. The longing for him was overwhelming. This occurred after a heated exchange. The argument descended into quietness, leaving unsaid aspirations hanging in the atmosphere. Yet another evening spent pouring my heart into the emptiness that surrounds me. My husband is engrossed in a world that appears to be far removed from mine, and he rarely looks up from his phone. His voice held an air of distance. Unfazed. "What compels us to continue down this path?" I inquired, my voice trembling with a mix of longing and uncertainty. "Do you still hold any feelings for me?" He remained silent, the air thick with unspoken words. He simply gazed at me, his eyes holding a depth that stirred something forbidden within. Let out a soft sigh. With a lingering tension in the air, he turned to leave. And what of that? That felt even more painful than if he had raised his voice. The pain surpassed any insult he could have directed at me. It implied that I had lost the ability to exert even the smallest effort. I lingered in the stillness of our intimate sanctuary. I was lost in thought as I gazed at the walls. My heart swells. I gave in prematurely. My fingers curled tightly into fists, a storm of emotions brewing within me. I didn't fully understand the direction I was taking. I found myself gently rapping on his door, anticipation swirling in the air. "Mother!" His voice carried a sultry rasp, laced with a hint of sleep's lingering embrace. His voice was heavy with the weight of dreams. He had already stood up, his eyes flickering with anticipation. Before I could utter a word, his eyes slowly acclimated to the soft glow of the bedside lamp, casting shadows that danced around the room. And then his gaze fell upon my face. His expression changed, displaying a hint of concern. Guarded, gentle. It was more than enough to shatter my very essence. My voice trembled, a whisper of vulnerability escaping me. I craved the warmth of companionship in this moment of solitude. He moved forward without a moment's pause. He slowly lifted the blanket, revealing a world of unspoken desires beneath its soft embrace. With a silent allure, she beckoned me closer, and perhaps I should have turned away. I should have chosen a different path. I walked back to my sanctuary, the atmosphere heavy with unvoiced desires. I locked the door, securing the world beyond. I surrendered to the embrace of slumber, despite the lingering thoughts that danced in the shadows of my mind. However, the situation was quite different. As I crossed the threshold, the sheets embraced me with a lingering warmth, inviting and intimate. The sheets embraced me with a lingering warmth, inviting and intimate. The distance that separates us feels impossibly narrow. Silence enveloped us, stretching on like a lingering embrace, heavy with unspoken words and electric tension. We found ourselves in that instant. A delicate sound danced on the edge of my awareness, whispering to me, "You are worthy of so much more than what you have now." There was something intoxicating about his voice, subdued, profound. She was filled with a deep and quiet longing. Breath caught in my throat. I slowly turned my head, drawn by an unspoken allure. We locked eyes in the soft, shadowy glow. I found myself unable to do so. His hand rose slowly, a silent invitation hanging in the air. Uncertain. The situation remains uncertain. Yet, there lingers a certain allure. It ascended. A thumb caressed my cheek, igniting a spark of unspoken desire. He gently captured a solitary tear. His fingers hesitated, brushing against her skin with a tantalizing slowness. I could feel my skin igniting beneath that gentle touch. I was aware. I realized that allowing this moment to linger any longer would be detrimental. If I chose to remain still, if I ceased to draw breath, something had to come to pass. A choice that sealed their fates forever. And then I took a step forward, reeling in surprise. The hint is just right, perfectly balanced. His hand fell away in an instant, as if the very air between them had shifted, laden with unspoken desires, and he surrendered to the moment. Intense. I turned my gaze away. Stillness. The texture is rich and indulgent. Oppressive stillness. Finally, the moment has arrived. A sultry rasp intertwines with whispers. The words were spoken softly, akin to a secret shared in the dim light of dusk. I whispered that it was time for me to leave. Yet, I remained still. I didn't remain motionless just yet. I have deep-seated motivations. There's a subtle hint of darkness within me. This longing verges on the forbidden. The desire to linger was strong. What does that mean? That sent a shiver down my spine like nothing else ever could. That night, I should have walked away from his room. I never looked behind me. I ought to have closed the door that separated our worlds. I should have concealed whatever this entity was before it had the chance to awaken. It must first blossom into something vibrant and alive. There is a connection that surpasses the mundane. Yet, there are certain matters, once ignited. The spark is difficult to extinguish. They possess a unique ability to unfold in unexpected ways. Yet, despite my efforts to push it away, it lingered in the shadows of my mind. I attempted to push it away, burying it deep within the shadowy recesses of my thoughts. This is the place where forbidden desires reside. The hour had grown late, shadows deepening around us, as the weight of unspoken desires hung thick in the air. The rain began to fall softly in the afternoon, a gentle whisper against the world, inviting secrets to be shared beneath its veil. Full-bodied, the thick droplets crashing against the windows, each one a reminder of the tempest outside, stirred a sense of longing within. The house trembles, each gust of wind whispering secrets through the night. The storm contracts the area surrounding us, engulfing us in a close-knit embrace. The air hangs thick with unspoken desires. A sense of unease stirred within me. I had spent the entire day in anticipation. Each movement lingered, as if time itself conspired to stretch the moment, heightening the tension in the air. Each thought weighed heavily, stirring a tempest within. I found myself lost in a haze, uncertain of the turmoil brewing within me. Perhaps I did. After all, perhaps I simply preferred to leave it unspoken. A hushed stillness enveloped the house. My husband was away once more. I sought a moment to untangle the thoughts swirling within me. I sought to rid my mind of the lingering thoughts that had enveloped me like a heavy shroud throughout the day. As I stepped into the warm embrace of the shower, the water cascaded over me, enveloping me in a moment of solitude and reflection. Allow the warmth to envelop me, igniting a sense of longing and desire. I slipped beneath this cascade of warm water. I let my eyelids drift shut. For a fleeting moment, I allowed myself to indulge in a fantasy. Imagine if I were simply a woman. I would be merely a vessel. I am radiant and vibrant, free from the weight of the world. Imagine if I were not unraveling in this way. Imagine if I weren't yearning for something forbidden. But then, a soft knock echoed through the stillness, gentle, uncertain. My breath hitched in my throat. I persuaded myself that it was just a dream. However, a thought still lingers. He let out a whisper. His voice, a sultry whisper that lingered in the air, encircled her like a forbidden embrace. Mother, I should have ignored the situation. Perhaps I should have kept my thoughts to myself. However, the situation stands in stark contrast. The moment was filled with pure impulse. In a moment suspended, where the world fades away, and the air itself feels forbidden, I murmured softly. Indeed, there was a moment of stillness. Are you feeling all right? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle within me. My throat felt parched, a longing stirring within me. My skin was aflame with desire, not from the warmth of the water, yet from a source most unexpected. My fingers brushed against the cool surface of the shower knob, and anticipation spun in the air. I paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. I'm doing well. I deceived you. I can't quite tell if I wanted him to catch my words, or if I was simply whispering them for my ears alone. However, at that precise instant, My intentions were unclear. The door let out a soft, haunting creak, and my heart sank. I turned, and my heart raced wildly within me, sending a thrilling rush through my veins. Water cascades down my face, a gentle reminder of the passion that lingers in the air. And there he stood, a figure cloaked in allure and mystery. He hovered at the edge of the threshold. He remained still, a silent figure caught in the moment. He stood there, a silent figure cloaked in the shadows of desire, the air thick with unspoken tension. His gaze held secrets untold. His chest heaved with an urgency that spoke of unspoken desires. The steam enveloped us, cloaking our shared moment in an intimate embrace, a whisper of something forbidden lingering in the air. It feels like an intimate revelation. It feels like a secret longing to be uncovered. I ought to have let out a cry. I should have let him go. The door closed with a forceful motion, echoing the tension in the air. We will never utter this little secret again. Yet, in contrast, I simply gazed in return. And what of him? His gaze remained unwavering. He wasn't done yet. He didn't act as he should have. Time seemed to lose its meaning as we lingered in that moment. Another one. Was it a timeless moment? Yet, in that fleeting instant, I truly sensed it. Something stirs. Something broke free. The moment was etched in time, forever beyond my grasp. His fingers danced restlessly at his sides, a silent testament to the tension that simmered just beneath the surface. His lips parted, revealing a secret longing that danced in the air between them. He seemed poised to divulge a secret, something both enticing and prohibited, and then the weight of reality crashed down upon me. I inhaled sharply. I retreated swiftly, my heart racing as I almost lost my footing. My hands instinctively pressed against my chest. I clutched at my own heart, as if I could fend off the undeniable reality lurking in the shadows. I felt as if I could easily erase the recollection of what had just happened. I couldn't believe what had almost happened. "Leave me!" I gasped, the weight of the moment pressing down on us. He stood still, caught in a moment that felt both electric and forbidden. I witnessed it unfold before my eyes. The uncertainty lingers in the air. The bewilderment, the pain was exquisite. And then, in the quiet moments that lingered between us, a spark ignited, drawing us closer into a world where boundaries blurred and desire whispered sweetly in the shadows. He blinked, a moment of hesitation flickering in his gaze. He appeared to be waking up from an enthralling dream. He comprehended the depths of his surroundings. He was who he truly was. "Mother!" I step into the world beyond. My voice faltered. And this time, he truly did. He glanced back one last time before disappearing into the shadows. The door closed softly behind them, sealing away the world outside, and I found myself in solitude. The water flows endlessly, a soft whisper in the quiet of the night. My heart races still, caught in the thrill of the moments. Yet, I had transformed in ways I could hardly recognize. My life would undergo an irreversible transformation. In that fleeting moment, my identity seemed to dissolve into the air, leaving only a whisper of who I once was. In that fleeting moment, our connection felt undefined, suspended in a delicate balance of desire and uncertainty. Yet, I am aware, after that moment, everything changed within me. The following morning, I awoke with an unsettling sense of unfamiliarity, as if I were an outsider within my essence. It was as though the woman I was once had vanished into the darkness of the night, leaving only faint echoes of her presence. Gliding away, I surrendered to the seductive pull of the swirling water, departing from a figure that felt like a stranger in my heart. I wanted this figure to stay a mystery to me. I glided through the house, a whisper of presence in the shadows. Each step carried an air of forbidden allure. Each breath seemed like a stolen moment, a fleeting whisper of something forbidden. I promised myself to push it from my mind. How could I forget the warmth, the intensity, and the way his gaze lingered on mine for a heartbeat longer than it should have? I whispered to myself that it held no significance. Nothing really came to pass. Yet, the heaviness in my heart whispered a different truth. As I stepped into the kitchen, my gaze fell upon him, his back turned, shoulders taut with unspoken tension. In that moment, I sensed he was aware of the electric pull between us as well. He remained oblivious to my presence as I stepped inside. "You forgot to whisper a sweet good morning." He averted his gaze from me. In that moment, clarity washed over me. Everything had changed. I lingered in silence, captivated by the silhouette of his form, searching for expressions that eluded me. Finally, I mustered the strength to clear my throat. "You really didn't need to rise with the dawn's light." The nonchalance in my voice was almost too relaxed for the situation, insufficiently profound. I felt as though I had the power to erase the recollections from the night before, using only my resolve. He tensed, a rush of unexpected emotions coursing through him. For a fleeting moment, I found myself wondering if he would remain silent. Then, with a deliberate grace, he turned. His expression was a tantalizing enigma. It appeared as though he was unsure of how to look at me. It seemed as though he had forgotten the very essence of my existence. "I have somewhere to be," he murmured, his fingers brushing against the cool metal of his keys on the counter. And in an instant, he vanished from my life. It wasn't merely his departure that lingered in the air. It was in the way he departed. No lingering gaze. He departed without a moment's hesitation, as if he were fleeing from an unspoken desire. He seemed to be running away from my presence. And in that moment, for the first time since it all began, I truly felt it, the ache of loss, deep and consuming. For what felt like an eternity, I found myself submerged in the depths of my solitude. I have been yearning for something, anything, to alleviate the emptiness that my husband has left behind for an extended period of time. And then, just as I had discovered something tender, something genuine, it began to fade into the shadows. And it was my doing. He returned in the shadows of the night, the air thick with unspoken desires. His familiarity roused a deep-seated emotion within me as he entered the front door. The evening's promise was hinted at as he casually placed his briefcase down, his tie already loosening. "Have you had a chance to indulge in something delicious?" I inquired, as if compelled by an unspoken desire. He nodded, his gaze lingering just beyond the surface. As if caught in a world of unspoken desires, they were deeply involved in a confidential conversation. I seized a moment in that place. I lingered in the shadows, captivated by his presence, anticipating. I yearned. Yet the source of my longing remained a mystery. Perhaps he could inquire about my well-being. It is possible that he could gaze at me with the same intensity as my son did the night before. Yet, he chose not to. He passed by, placing his lips against my cheek in a manner that was both reminiscent and tinged with an unspoken yearning. He wasn't in the right mood. And in that moment, a deep, forbidden longing stirred within me, leaving me breathless. For years, I believed the most painful betrayal from my husband was his neglect of my heart. Yet, at that moment, the veil lifted at that moment, and I became aware of the hidden reality. It was the act of extinguishing my desire for him that was the most devastating. In response, I deceived him in ways he could never fathom. It was more than mere avoidance. It was the space between us, intimate, profound. He was retreating in every sense, creating distance that felt both palpable and charged with unspoken tension. He no longer lingers in the quiet hours by my side. Ceased the soft murmurs shared over breakfast. Cease your caress. The fleeting touches of his fingertips are no more. Gone are the gentle caresses that once graced my shoulders. It felt as though he was meticulously constructing a barrier, each brick a silent testament to the distance growing between us. And I despised it. I didn't just dislike it because it hurt. Yet, it was something I had earned for myself. I felt, deep down, that his distancing wasn't motivated by contempt for me. He was distancing himself, grappling with the shadows of his desires. Why does it matter? It was even more disappointing. A week slipped by. 7 days of silence lay between us, an expanse as vast and uncharted as an ocean, each moment heavy with unspoken longing. At last, on a fateful night, I caught the sound of it. The low rumble of his engine igniting in the stillness of the driveway was a prelude to the evening's unfolding secrets. I gazed through the window, observing the fading glow of taillights as they vanished into the enveloping night. And I understood. His destiny lay in another's arms. He was meant to be a companion of youth. She embodies a soul that is free from unnecessary distractions. There was someone whose touch was pure, untainted by the lingering shadows of desire. As I lingered there, gazing at the vacant driveway, the heaviness of my decisions seeped into my very being, and a revelation washed over me. I had devoted countless moments yearning for an intimate bond, and now I found myself enveloped in a solitude deeper than I had ever known. For once, you tread upon that delicate boundary, teetering on the edge of what is deemed acceptable. There lies no return to the innocence of your former self. Only the essence of your present self remains. And what about me? I found myself lost in the depths of my identity. Guilt is often described as a heavy burden, akin to an anchor drawing one down into the depths of desire. Once it ensnares your heart, it pulls you into its depths. I had no idea just how profound this journey would become. I believed I could simply leave it all behind. That moment would ebb like a tide, gently sweeping away the traces of our secret rendezvous, leaving only whispers in the air. Yet, time has not been gentle with my heart. Every time I closed my eyes, I was immediately transported back to that intimate moment in the shower. Time stood still in that fleeting moment. I found myself repeatedly pondering, was it me who bore the blame, or was there something more forbidden about me? For years, I wove a narrative around myself, believing I was the embodiment of virtue. I was a devoted partner. I am a devoted mother. She was a woman who had poured out her soul, surrendering every aspect of herself until she was completely naked. What compelled me to take that step? What compelled me to surrender to this moment? Perhaps I could cast my husband as the source of my discontent, attribute it to the years of indifference, the chill that enveloped me, the way he rendered my presence unseen. Yet, could that truly be considered a justification? Or was I simply constructing a facade of victimhood to protect myself from facing the unadulterated truth? The reality held a darker allure. In the depths of my heart, I craved a desire that society deemed forbidden. I let the solitude fester within me, devouring my spirit like an unexpected visitor. Allow it to linger in the shadows. Allow it to shape me into a figure I barely know. I was unable to look away in time when the moment arrived. When the water simmered with heat and the air was heavy with an unspoken tension, I allowed the second to linger, savoring the moment. I allowed that singular presence to linger. What does that mean? That was the moment one could never forget. I stood before the mirror, my trembling fingers tracing the contours of my face, each line whispering a tale yet to be told. For the first time, I perceived her as more than a wife. She was something forbidden and alluring. I found myself searching for a maternal presence, yet none appeared. I encountered a woman whose actions whispered of a forbidden past, leaving an undeniable mark on her soul. I observed her during a vulnerable moment. The individual found themselves engulfed in their own desires. Someone had entwined the boundaries until they vanished into obscurity. I breathed softly. "Who are you?" Yet the mirror remained silent, offering no reflection of the unspoken desires that lingered in the air. I had long been conscious of this. I had undergone a complete transformation from the individual I had once identified as. I had transformed into something entirely different. This was a moment that will forever be etched in my memory, one that I can never reclaim. And no matter how many times I washed my hands or how fiercely I scrubbed my skin in the shower, attempting to cleanse myself of the lingering memory of his touch, I found I could not erase the undeniable truth that remained etched in my being. The truth remains etched in my being for the simple reason that it exists. The truth lay hidden within me, a secret yearning to be unveiled, and it lingered in a suspended moment. Neither advancing nor retreating, I yearned to erase that moment from my memory. There are moments that linger, haunting the corners of my thoughts, and that night is one I long to forget. Yet, there are moments that, once witnessed, linger in the shadows of our minds forever. There are moments that, once experienced, linger in the shadows of your memory, refusing to fade away. They transform into a lingering presence, an indelible mark that clings to your very essence, resisting every attempt to erase it. Countless nights have slipped away as I lay beneath the stars, lost in a labyrinth of thoughts, each question echoing in the silence, drawing me deeper into a world of longing and desire. Could it have been my doing? Did I allow it to unfold? Or was that my true desire? What's the most difficult part? I'm uncertain of the answer, and I believe that is what lingers in the shadows of my mind. A haunting presence that stirs something deep inside. Have you ever found yourself in a moment where the weight of solitude led you to ponder your very essence? In that moment, the boundaries of morality began to intertwine, leaving us to navigate the intoxicating haze of desire. Have your emotions ever entwined themselves into a form so unfamiliar it left you questioning their very essence? I long to know what stirs within your mind. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever felt a deep emptiness? A longing for something that goes beyond the typical? Have you ever found yourself staring at a boundary that you never thought you would dare to cross? If this tale stirred your emotions and ignited a spark within you, be sure to show your appreciation by liking, subscribing, and activating notifications. Does this tale truly move you? This story is merely one tale among countless others, each whispering secrets of desire and longing. There is a hidden truth that is shrouded in shadows and longing. Solitude can be perilous, It reveals illusions that lurk just beneath the surface of reality. It ignites desires that linger just beyond the boundaries of propriety. It stirs a sense of conviction within you. These are moments that pulse with undeniable authenticity. There are innocent gestures that carry an alluring weight. Whispers of unspoken desires linger in the stillness of a vacant home. Yet, those matters. They hold the power to unravel your very essence. They can seize every fragment of your identity and reshape it into something utterly foreign. No matter how deep your disorientation is, for once you take that step, the path behind you fades into shadows. For certain transgressions, redemption remains forever elusive. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. If it touched you, don't forget to like and subscribe to Levy Stories. Your support means the world to me and encourages me to bring more impactful, real-life stories just like this one. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next video.